I never expected a simple hug to reveal a heartbreaking secret about my disabled daughter. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The world spun sideways, colors blurred into chaos. I stood in the kitchen, heart racing, hands trembling, waiting for her laughter, her smile, that spark that lit up the darkest corners of my life. But all I felt was a chilling silence. That it was a rainy morning. The kind that seeps through your bones, wraps around your heart like a vice. My daughter, Mia, sat on the floor, surrounded by her scattered toys, her favorite ones, a plush unicorn with vibrant hues and a tiny blue car she'd loved since she could remember. Her laughter was sacred, a melody I cherished every moment. But today, something felt different. As I knelt beside her, I noticed the way her fingers hesitated, tracing the edges of that worn-out unicorn. "Mia," I whispered, hoping to coax her out from whatever cloud had descended upon her. But she only looked at me, her big, round eyes wide, yet distant. It was the same look I'd seen 2 years ago when she first had trouble walking, when everything we knew shifted, as if the earth had opened up and swallowed our lives whole. That I pulled her close, hugging her tightly, feeling the warmth radiate from her small body. Her breaths were soft against my chest. Then, out of nowhere, I felt a shift. A strange energy coursed through me, something pulled at the edges of my mind. I pulled back, wanting to look into her eyes, but something in that moment shattered the happiness. The hug meant more than I knew. "Mama, is there something wrong with me?" she asked, a tiny frown creasing her forehead. I froze. The weight of her question crashed into my chest, sending waves of panic and heartbreak through me. "Of course not, sweet pea. You're perfect just as you are," I assured her, my voice shaking, but deep inside, her words struck a chord. The tears pooled in my eyes, blurring the edges of the world around me. I had always hidden the truth from her, believing that as long as I protected her from pain, she'd be okay. But I felt it, the truth waited, looming like a dark cloud ready to burst. Just then, an unexpected noise cut through the anxiety, the sound of the front door opening. My husband, Alex, walked in, his face brightening at the sight of Mia. His laughter bubbled up, but as soon as he met my eyes, it faded into confusion. I knew he sensed it too, the heavy air, the silence screaming out for answers. As he reached for Mia, something flickered between us, a silent understanding of dread. I was about to share Mia's question when Alex suddenly froze, his expression shifting from joy to concern. I needed to ask, to demand the truth, but the lump in my throat trapped my words. What did he know? "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The rain drummed a steady beat against the windows, trying to drown out the tension building inside our home. I looked at Alex, his face a mirror to my own fears. The silence between us stretched, a taut string about to snap. How could I breach the subject of Mia's question when I had no idea what lay beneath it? Alex finally broke the quiet, gently running his fingers through Mia's hair. "Hey, little star," he said, his voice coaxing, "what are you up to today?" But Mia's response was a simple, forlorn shrug, her gaze drifting back to the unicorn that had lost its sparkle. He glanced back at me, concern etching lines on his forehead. I could feel the weight of my unresolved anxiety pressing down. The battle in my mind was waging fiercely. Should I say something now, or should I wait for a moment clearer with courage? But every moment I hesitated felt like a betrayal to my daughter, a denial of the truth that was desperate to come to light. "Alex," I began, forcing the words out. Mia asked me if something was wrong with her. I trailed off, watching the joy fade from his eyes. It hurt more than I anticipated, an ache in my chest that was almost unbearable. I wanted to shield both of them from anything harmful, yet I stood on the precipice of revelation, arms trembling with uncertainty. That he nodded slowly, understanding that beneath those words lay a multitude of unknowns. What do you think she means? I hesitated, my voice barely above a whisper. I don't think we've told her everything. I've avoided it, thinking she wouldn't understand, wouldn't have to know. Mia deserves the truth, even if it stings, he replied, the inner strength within him shining through despite the storm brewing outside. That I looked at Mia, her innocent face stamped with confusion and vulnerability. The agony of the unknowing was etched into her small features. How could I explain her limitations without breaking her spirit? And yet, how could I allow her to continue feeling incomplete without the pieces to her own puzzle? Before I could answer, a loud crash resonated from the living room, followed by a sound of glass shattering. My heart raced as I crouched low to Mia, shielding her instinctively. Stay close, sweetie, I said, trying to maintain calm as fear surged through me. Alex! I shouted, feeling panic churn in the pit of my stomach as he rushed toward the source of the noise. Don't leave her. He glanced back, but the urgency in that moment ignited something primal inside me. I wanted to protect Mia at all costs, even if it meant confronting whatever chaos awaited in the other room. As I stood, wrestling with the echoes of my dread, the world around me erupted into light as I snatched Mia's hand, tugging her closer. The unfolding now felt inevitable, a chain of events that had long been set into motion. Within moments, I found myself standing on the threshold of the living room, my heart in my throat. Alex knelt beside a fallen lamp, the shattered remains glimmering like tiny stars across the floor. It's nothing, just an old lamp, he murmured, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. I knelt down next to him, grabbing hold of his arm. Alex, she needs to hear the truth. He looked up, the storm of emotions swirling in his gaze: fear, sadness, frustration, but also warmth, the softness of a parent fighting for their child. Okay, let us do this together, he said, his determination rekindling the tiny flicker of hope within me. We turned back to Mia, who had settled on the floor, alone amongst the remnants of childhood whimsy. Baby, I started, feeling the gravity of the moment weigh on me, we need to talk. But just then, the doorbell rang, slicing through the tension like a knife. We exchanged worried glances. Who could it be? Mia, stay here, Alex said gently as he stood, masking concern with a brave front. But I could see how he faltered, how the question of what waited behind that door hung heavily in the air. As I squeezed Mia's small hand, looking into her innocent eyes, I knew that whatever surfaced next would change everything. The truth was a cold wave rising. And we were standing on its shores, about to be swept away. What would they discover? What new storm awaited outside? The door creaked open, and the world remained uncertain, holding its breath. The door swung open with a slow creak, revealing a figure cloaked in shadows, the gray drizzle outside casting an ethereal glow around her. Instinctively, I took a step back, gripping Mia's hand tighter. Alex stood frozen in place, an indistinguishable expression flickering across his face. Jenna? The voice that emerged from the shadows was shaky, uncertain, but undeniably familiar. My heart plummeted as recognition hit. It was Sarah, my estranged sister. I hadn't seen her in years, not since the debacle in the family that had left rifts deeper than I ever thought possible. Is it really you? She whispered, tears shimmering in her eyes, the rain-soaked air heavy with unspoken burdens. What are you doing here? I managed to whisper back, my heart racing with a mix of dread and disbelief. I came to check on you, on Mia, she stammered, taking a tentative step forward as if the mere act of approaching might bring comfort. Mia looked up at me, her wide eyes filled with confusion. Mom? She asked, the innocence of her inquiry cutting through the tension like a knife. Stay close, honey, I urged, my voice trembling. I felt Alex take a protective step toward us, a silent promise to buffer the storm brewing between my sister and me. I know it's been a long time, and I understand if you're angry. Can I come in? Sarah's voice was fragile, but something in her tone made me hesitate. I glanced at Alex, who offered a slight nod of encouragement, but I could see the worry creeping back into his expression. As I stepped aside and let her in, the air inside felt thick with years of silence and unresolved emotions. "Why now?" I managed to say, my heart pounding with the weight of the question. "I heard about Mia," Sarah said, her gaze darting to my daughter, who still clutched my hand tightly. "I thought maybe I could help." "Help?" I echoed incredulously, anger flaring within me at the sheer audacity of her words. "You think it's that simple?" Just then, Mia spoke, her voice small yet filled with an uncharacteristic bravery. "What do you mean by help?" Sarah knelt down, her vulnerability almost disarming. "Mia, I know things. I've always known some things about you that maybe your mom hasn't told you." Panic surged through me as I exchanged frantic glances with Alex. Anxiety prickled at my skin. "What things?" I demanded, trying to keep my voice steady. But Sarah hesitated, measuring her words. "I want to help you understand what it means to be different, honey. You're special in ways that the world doesn't always see. You have a light inside you." I felt my chest constricting, a familiar ache surfacing. I had tried so hard to cultivate that light within Mia, to shield her from a world that might not accept her. But now, her own family was stepping into that sacred space I had protected like a mother bear. "What do you know about being different?" I challenged, my voice sharper than intended. "You left. You didn't even want to be a part of her life." Tears brimmed in Sarah's eyes, her emotions raw. "I know I made mistakes," she whispered. "But I also know that sometimes it takes someone from the outside to see what we're blind to. I want to help you too, truly. I want to be part of Mia's life." Mia, sensing the turmoil swirling around us, began to withdraw, her small frame shrinking against me. It was then that I noticed the flicker of hope in her eyes as she looked at Sarah, a distant reflection of the bond they could potentially forge. Just as I opened my mouth to object, a spark ignited in the air, and Mia spoke again, this time with an innocent determination that shook me to my core. "Are you like me?" she asked, hesitantly leaning towards Sarah. The question hung in the air, the weight of it palpable, a lifeline that could either connect or shatter worlds. "No," Sarah replied softly, "but I care about helping people like you." Suddenly, a deafening crack of thunder rumbled, a stark reminder of the storm outside. As it echoed through the walls of our home, I felt the ground shift beneath me, and the vision of the life I fought so hard to curate for Mia trembled. Before me, with every heartbeat, the impending storm of emotions loomed closer, and I realized we stood on a precipice of revelation I had fought to manage alone. In that moment, I could either close the door on Sarah's return or open my heart to unknown possibilities, to uncharted connections. But as that question dangled suspended in the air, I was painfully aware we were all on a collision course, and the reckoning was not one I could face alone, and just as I prepared to respond, an unforeseen knock echoed from the door, again an urgent, insistent call that sent shivers down my spine, deepening the uncertainty that swirled around us. "Who's there?" I called out, heart racing, bracing for whatever revelation awaited beyond that threshold once more. The knock came again, louder this time, as if it were demanding entry. My pulse quickened in tandem with the storm outside, each raindrop against the windows matching the frantic beats of my heart. I turned my gaze back to Sarah, whose expression mirrored my anxiety and uncertainty that permeated the room, thickening the air around us. "Mama?" Mia's voice drew my attention, her small hand trembling against mine. I knelt to her level, cupping her cheeks. "Are we safe?" "Of course, we're safe, love," I assured her, though the trepidation gnawing at my insides told a different story. I pushed myself back to my feet, taking a deep breath to steady myself. The urge to shut the door, to barricade myself and Mia against the past was strong. But Sarah stood there on the threshold, as fragile as a flickering flame in the tempest. The rain drummed on the roof like a symphony of uncertainty, and here we were two sisters, tangled in shared history, on the edge of exposing long-buried wounds. "Whatever's out there can wait," I said, firming my resolve, but the insistent knock continued, drowning out reason. "I can go check," Alex started, but I shot him a look that spoke volumes. This was my responsibility, my family was at stake. "Just give me a moment," I murmured, stepping towards the door. The weight of every decision hinged on this next move, and with trembling fingers I grasped the handle. Before I could turn it, Sarah spoke softly, "Maybe it's not only about what comes next for us, but also about what's at that door." Her voice was threaded with an urgency I couldn't ignore. "Why does that feel meaningful?" I asked, my heart racing with the hint of dread. "Because sometimes the truth outside is a reflection of what we choose to confront inside," she replied, leaning against the wall, eyes shutting tightly as if bracing for something far greater than the storm that I hesitated, doubts creeping back in. What was out there? Would it bring more pain, or would it unravel intentions just waiting to be seen? But just as my hand dropped from the door, the knock came again, echoed by a voice I recognized but hadn't heard in years, my mother. "Lily. It's me, please. I need to speak to you." Stunned, my heart caught in my throat, memories rushed back, years of wanting her comfort and needing to keep her away all at the same time. I exchanged glances with Alex, whose concern for me was palpable, and Sarah, whose unexpected presence complicated everything. "What do I do?" I whispered, panic edging my words. "Open it," Alex said softly, the conviction in his voice lending me strength. "I can't," I breathed, almost crumbling under the weight of not just my emotions, but of the looming destiny of my daughter. "Maybe you can," Sarah countered, stepping closer. "Let her in. If we're going to heal, we need to confront our truths together." "Together," Mia echoed, tilting her head, eyes round and curious, sensing the intensity, reminiscent of how she would want to chase a butterfly in fight-or-flight moments, with my hand still gripping the door, every instinct screamed to retreat. But I could almost hear Mia's small heartbeat above all else, a gentle reminder not just of her innocence but of the love that wove our family together. However tattered it might appear, that I turned the handle, and the door swung open to reveal my mother, eyes swollen and raw, the grief visible on her face. "Lily, please listen. It's important." The three of us, Sarah still hovering at the threshold like a ghost of the past, Alex standing resolute beside me, and Mia clasping my hand, all swallowed the reality of my mother's arrival, compounded by the tension that glazed our reunion. "Mama, what could possibly be so important?" I demanded, the bitterness in my voice cutting through the storm outside. "Everything," she said, voice cracking as she stepped inside. "There are things I've kept from you, from both of you. Things that might explain why Mia is different." At that instant, the world around us dulled to a distant echo, the rain outside fading into a mere backdrop to the storm brewing within. I felt Mia shift beside me, her spirit wavering. "What do you mean, Mama?" I whispered, anguish rising as I faced the burden of hope and fear colliding in the pit of my stomach. "This isn't just about you and Sarah," my mother spoke, tears spilling down her cheeks. "It's about Mia and the truth behind her differences." A new despair settled like a shroud, and just as I opened my mouth to demand clarity, the beating of Mia's heart began to flicker with uncertainty. She squeezed my hand and whispered, "Mom, am I wrong?" I felt the air expand around us, as if time itself held its breath, as if the very essence of everything we knew was about to unravel with every word spoken in that charged moment. And then, just as I steeled myself to answer, the realization crashed upon me: the revelation was only just beginning, and the secrets at the door might not only change our lives, they might tear the very fabric of our family apart forever. The silence that enveloped the room was suffocating, punctuated only by the soft patter of rain, now a gentle whisper compared to the rising storm within my heart. Mia's small fingers tightened around mine, her voice barely rising above a breath, "Mom, am I wrong?" For a fleeting moment, I wanted to shelter her from the storm she had unknowingly been caught in. The fears and uncertainties that swirled around us now felt like a cyclone threatening to tear apart everything we held dear. How was I supposed to respond? To reassure her that her worth was not tied to the differences that made her who she was? But how could I say that when uncertainty loomed so large, threatening to devour the beautiful life I had fought to give her? "Nothing about you is wrong, sweetheart," I managed, forcing the words past the lump in my throat, desperate for her to feel the love that pushed me to face the shadows hiding in corners of our past. The look in her wide, trusting eyes told me she needed more, she needed the truth, but behind me, the shadows danced. Sarah stood frozen, caught in her own battle with secrets that pulled at the threads of our shared history. There was a spark in her gaze, a fragile hope battling against the weight of our mother's revelations. I realized then that Sarah, too, had likely borrowed burdens that were never hers to carry, mirroring my own internal war. "I didn't want to come back," our mother said, her voice trembling, now revealed as a threadbare tapestry of shame and regret. "But I couldn't stay away any longer. Not after everything that happened, not after it became impossible to hide the truth." "What truth?" The question slipped from my lips, a poison I wished I didn't have to taste but knew I had to face if I wanted to reclaim my life, my family. "There's something unique about Mia. Something I had to keep hidden, because I was scared. Scared of how you would react, scared of your father, scared of everything we lost," she said, her breaths hitching between words. "Unique how?" My voice was now a strained whisper, each syllable edged with apprehension. "Mom, just tell me." She wiped her tears away, her eyes meeting mine like mirrors reflecting years of my childhood fears. "Mia, she's special. Different. It's in her bloodline, something we chose to conceal. A gift, and a burden." My mind raced, tangled in emotions. A gift? What did that mean? I could feel a shiver run through Mia as if she sensed the shift, the truth lingering on the edge of an abyss we had yet to fully comprehend. With each second that ticked by, the air grew heavier, saturated by dread and uncertainty. "Your father and I," my mother faltered, reaching back into memories that I had almost forgotten, ghosts of arguments that drove her away and close-off emotions that turned love into something hard and jagged. "Your father was terrified of the possibility, so we buried it. But Mia is not just different, she is part of something deeper, something rare, and precious." "No," I whispered, the word falling out like a prayer for denial. Fear clawed at me, its touch chilling every part of my resolve. There were so many questions I wanted to ask, but I couldn't find the air to voice them. "Why did you wait until now?" Sarah's voice sliced through the tension, her rage simmering just beneath the surface. "We could have prepared ourselves, we could have understood." "I was afraid," our mother broke down, the dam bursting forth with years of pain, her sobs pulling at the strings of our hearts. "Afraid of losing you both, afraid of different futures, afraid of being judged as if loving my daughters was not enough." Mia's grip on my hand relaxed a fraction, the stirrings of trepidation weaving through her innocence like shadows thickening in twilight. "I don't want to be different." Her voice trembled as she shifted her gaze from my mother to me, the unspoken plea hovering like a fragile butterfly desperate not to be crushed by the weight of our family's history. "I know, sweetheart," I whispered, bending down to her level, wishing I could shield her from this turmoil, cast the world away and wrap us in a cocoon of safety. But the storm was inside us now. "Listen to me. Whatever makes you different doesn't change how much I love you." Within the confines of this whirlwind, I glanced back at Sarah, who looked for the first time almost vulnerable, a flicker of something akin to understanding crossing her features. "Mom," I said firmly, feeling the fire of determination reignite within me, "if we're going to do this, we need to face it together. No more secrets. Just truth." Just as I poured my heart into declaring an alliance against the shadows that sought to engulf us, a flash of lightning illuminated the window, and the thunder that followed rattled the very foundation of our home. A violent storm, indeed, but perhaps the most dangerous storms were the ones that brewed within us. As I looked into each of their eyes, Mia's fear, Sarah's anger, my mother's regret, I realized that unveiling the truth was only the beginning. The real test would be what we chose to do next, how we would navigate the waters where love and fear intertwined, and then, with the rattle of the windows, my phone buzzed, breaking the tension like glass shattering against the floor. I glanced down to see a message flash across the screen, a name I never expected to see again, now blazing with urgency. Lily, I need to talk to you. It's about Mia and time is running out. The air thickened, a new storm emerging, and I could feel my heart plummet into the chasm of confusion and dread. Would this revelation tear us apart before we had a chance to heal? Would it bring truth or more heartache? I steeled myself, understanding this was just the beginning of our fight, the battle against fear, secrets, and the uncharted path that lay before us. Whatever awaited on the other side of these revelations had the potential to shatter everything I had fought to protect, and the only thing clear in that moment was that the storm was far from over. The wind howled outside, an echo of the turmoil brewing within our fragile family. I stood frozen, my fingers trembling around my phone, heart racing at the message still glowing before me. Lily. The name sent a wave of warmth through me, but with it came an undercurrent of dread. What could she possibly want? What more could I bear on the pouring shores of this storm? Who is it? Sarah's voice sliced through my daze, pulling me back into the present. I looked up, meeting her expectant, yet frightened gaze. Mia nestled closer to me, seeking refuge from the chaos swirling around us. No one important, I deflected, tucking my phone behind my back like a guilty secret, trying to shield my daughters from the brewing storm that had suddenly grown larger than our family issues, a storm that echoed the thunder rolling through the skies. Mia is important, Sarah countered, her voice thick with an emotion I couldn't place. What if it's about her? What if the past reaches into our present like it always seems to? The boldness of her statement lingered in the air, a challenge I didn't know how to address. I realized that each of us was haunted not just by our mother's revelations but by our histories and the secrets we had yet to unveil. Mom, Mia's small voice broke through the weighty silence, her innocent confusion somehow slicing through my fog of fear. What if being different is good? I felt an unexpected rise of warmth bloom within my chest at her earnestness. Could it be that despite everything we had just learned, there was still a spark of hope among the ashes? Maybe you're right, sweet girl, I replied, stroking her hair softly. Being different could mean being special. But that doesn't take away the fears and uncertainties we have. Then let us face them together, she offered, her resolve reflecting in her eyes, a mixture of fear and bravery that surprised me. The thunder clapped again, louder this time, like the universe was signaling that fate had a way of intruding at the most critical moments. I'm not sure we can do this, I admitted, my voice a whisper, carrying the weight of a truth I didn't want to voice. Do we have a choice? Sarah huffed, her frustration coiling in the air, nearly palpable. Every moment we let this pass by, we lose more. I mean, look at Mom, look at what this is doing to us. We can't sit here while time ticks by. We must act. As if scripted, my phone buzzed again, urging me once more towards that damned name. Lily, the ghost from my past, lingering like a wound that had yet to heal. A ripple of anger surged within me. What if she is here to drag us into deeper waters? I shot back at Sarah, unable to mask the sharpness of my tone. Mama, who is she? Mia interjected, her voice croaking with an innocence that clawed at my heart. I closed my eyes, frustrated that we were back at square one, continuously tracing the edges of our tangled emotions without a clear path to resolution. She was an old friend, I finally conceded, my stomach nodding as I spoke. Someone who knew me and knew more about you, Mia, than I ever wanted. And now she wants to talk. A thick silence enveloped us. For a moment, I could hear the pounding of the rain, echoing eerily with the creaking of foam furnishings and memories I'd never fully told. Mama, Mia said, her fingers wrapping firmly around mine once more, perhaps she holds the key to understanding who I truly am? What if she is the one that brings more secrets? Sarah countered, the weariness edging her brow. Mia deserves the truth, whether it brings hope or despair, I replied, my tone firming with unexpected resolve. I needed to navigate the dark waters we were all wrestling with, not just for me but for the little girl whose gaze bore the weight of the world. The lights flickered in response, and I knew our lives would never be the same once I chose what to do next. My heart raced as I considered, would I reveal what had been buried for so long? What if opening this door introduced a calamity that could tear us apart further? But there was truth beyond fear, and amidst the raging storm, it beckoned me. "Okay," I said finally, my voice steadier. "I'll talk to her, but we do this together. We don't let the past define us, and what's more, whatever happens, we promise to face it openly." I turned to look at Mia. In her emerald eyes, I saw something powerful, forming a shared strength that whispered of resilience. Her frail, yet unwavering grasp sent a wild hope coursing through my heart. Then, just as I reached for my phone, ready to reach out to Lily and whatever lay beyond that connection, a loud crash shattered the silence. A branch from a nearby tree struck our house, and the entire room vibrated with the force of an unforeseen tremor. We all jumped, heartbeats racing, and in that chaos, I held Mia closer. Fear exploded through me as I eyed the window. What had started as an ominous storm outside now burst through our world in a flash of reality. In that moment, I understood shadows weren't just lurking inside us, they were crashing down, threatening to expose every secret, every unrealized fear, nudging us toward the truth that was now perilously close and potentially devastating. The stakes had never been higher. The storm outside paled in comparison to the storms within, and I knew with every fiber of my being that choosing to act would either solidify our family or break it further apart. One decision, one call to Lily, and the aftermath would wield the potential to break us wide open or stitch together the fragments long scattered. The crossroads lay before me, and I was terrified of the path I was destined to walk. As the echoes of the crash resonated into silence, the tremors of fear settled into the pit of my stomach. I could still hear the rain pelting the roof, a relentless reminder of the storm both outside and within. Mia clung to me, her fingers digging into my side, mercifully grounding me amidst the chaos. "Mom, what was that?" Sarah whispered, her voice a blend of anxiety and concern. "I don't know," I replied, forcing calm into my shaky demeanor. Our house had weathered so much, this was just a branch. But the instinct to protect my children took over, urging me to feign strength, to shield them from the truth that haunted me still. The lights flickered once more, casting shadows that danced wickedly across the walls. Sometimes, I wondered if those shadows were merely silhouettes of the secrets we had long buried. Would they be the ones to finally drag us into the storm? "Mia, stay close," I instructed gently, my heart racing with the duality of fear and resolve. I needed to take charge, to bring some semblance of safety back into our world. With careful movements, I walked to the window where the frame had shuddered upon impact. Distant flashes of lighting illuminated the chaotic scene outside. A branch lay doubled down on our porch, and for a fleeting moment, I hoped it was a mere sign that storms, like emotions, could pass. A tap on my shoulder jolted me, and I turned to see Sarah's wide eyes brimming with uncertainty. What if something really is out there? What if the past is trying to reach us? In her words, I felt the urgency that clenched at my insides. "That's just it, Sarah," I confessed under my breath, torn between the truth and the instinct to protect. What if it's not just a storm? What if opening this door leads to hidden truths? What if it's worse than we imagine? As soon as those words left my lips, I saw Mia step back, pulling away slightly, her brow furrowed in thought. "But if we don't open it, it might stay a question forever. I don't want to be scared anymore, Mom. I want to know." Her innocence was both a balm and a burden, rocking me to my core. What if this choice I was about to make, a call to Lily, wasn't just about clarifying the winds of our lives but woven with threads that could potentially unravel the gentle fabric of our world? I took a deep breath, allowing both the fear and courage a few moments of weight in my heart. With Mia's declaration freshly echoing in my mind, I finally settled back on the couch, urging her to join me. On either side, Sarah and Mia formed a fragile wall of unwavering love. The phone still buzzed in my hand, almost begging for attention. Slowly but surely, I found my courage. What was it that held me back? Uncertainty? Fear of the unknown? The memories of secrets shared? I needed to know what was buried and, more importantly, if it would help my girls understand themselves better. I pressed my fingers to the screen, trembling, feeling the connection pulse like a heartbeat. What lay beyond that familiar name? Clarity? Or chaos? Just as my thumb hovered over the call button, the doorbell rang, shattering my moment of tranquility. We all froze, exchanging looks of apprehension. Who could it be, standing drenched in the storm, seeking shelter or answers? "I'll get it," Sarah offered quietly, moving towards the door with hesitant steps. I saw the tension etched in her shoulders, nerves letting the uncertainty leak into her bones. "Wait, Sarah," I called after her, a surge of protective instinct flaring up once more. "Let us be cautious. I can handle this, Mom. I just want to know," she retorted, and in the heat of her words, I felt a dagger of realization stab through me that this entire ordeal had emboldened them, igniting flames of curiosity and courage I couldn't stifle. Before I could voice another warning, Sarah swung the door open, revealing a figure bathed in raindrops, hair slicked back, face obscured in shadow. "Lily?" I could hardly believe my eyes as the name fell from my lips, but the familiar voice that answered was not what I expected. "It's me, Jessie," she said. My heart dropped. As her gaze met mine, calling forth memories I had tucked away and feared bringing back into the light. The warmth I had felt bloomed into a torrent of memories, crashing over me years of friendship, breakups, and the space that had formed between us like a canyon, widening with unspoken regrets. But that gaze, it revealed something deeper, a challenge unvoiced that drew my family onward through the storm, and at that moment, I felt an echo of what had been lost. "Mia, Sarah, why don't you go get something warm?" I managed to suggest, knowing this encounter was charged with unsaid conversations poised to spill forth. With reluctant steps, they obeyed, leaving me alone with Jessie, the past awakening in shades of urgency. "Why are you? How did you find us?" "Let us just say I've got my ways," Jessie replied. She searched my eyes with a depth of understanding that rooted her to the present. "I'm here because I think we need to talk. About Mia and why she is so special." Underneath my skin, my heart leapt in panic, resonating with every word. This was at the moment I had been both waiting for and dreading all along. The storm's gusts howled outside, but the real tempest had just stepped through our door, delicate during its arrival yet armed with a thunderous revelation. "Jessie, please," I pleaded, the weight of everything crashing in on me. "You weren't supposed to be involved in this. You can't keep running from the truth, Ella," she insisted. "The truth is where the healing begins for Mia, for all of us. I brought something that will change how you see everything." With those words, Jessie pulled something from her pocket, a delicate, hand-stitched fabric patch that brought me straight into a whirlwind of memories. Each thread pulled me toward an understanding I had skirted around, knowing unwelcoming change was likely on the other side, and just like that, the skies outside cracked open, and the wind screamed, urging us forward into this uncharted territory, a prelude to truths that could echo across generations. I stepped further into the storm, my heart racing alongside the rolling thunder, knowing we were on the edge of something monumental and possibly heartbreaking. All it would take was one whisper from Jessie to shatter the delicate balance we had fought so hard to maintain. With my daughters somewhere nearby, both eager and anxious, the weight of the moment crashed in on me, a truth waiting to unravel at my fingertips. The storm raged outside, heavy droplets pelting the roof with a ferocity that mirrored the tumult brewing within me. Jessie stood there, her presence a chilling reminder of the burden I had tried so desperately to keep hidden, as though it could dissolve along with the shadows lurking in the corners of our home. I could feel the pull of the moment, a magnetism that threatened to draw everything I loved into a vortex of chaos. "Ella," Jessie said, her voice steady but laced with urgency, "you must listen. I wouldn't have come if it wasn't vital." I swallowed hard, trying to rein in the swirling doubts in my mind. Could this really lead to a breakthrough? Or was it just another storm brewing, one that might drown us all? Can we talk privately? I spluttered, casting a furtive glance toward the kitchen. It wasn't just my daughters I feared for, but the lives we had carefully built with memories and laughter amid the specters of the past. I think it's better that they hear it too, she replied, a sense of gravity settled in her choice of words. Mia is involved in this, and Sarah deserves to understand. As if conjured by her call, I saw my daughters re-entering the room, arms clutching mugs steaming with cocoa, the warmth grazing my fingers like the soft brush of clouds across a blue sky. Mia's curious eyes searched the scene, innocent yet aware. Sarah's impatience crackled just beneath her surface, eager for answers. "We need to talk about something important," I said, my voice wavering with apprehension. I felt the heat of Jessie's gaze, steady and unyielding, urging me to take that leap of faith I had so long resisted. "Mom, is everything okay?" Sarah asked, her shoulders tensing, ready for the turbulence she perhaps sensed. Jessie stepped forward, her fingers nervously tracing the fabric in her hands, the delicate handiwork now a tangible link to all the fears I had avoided facing. "It's about Mia," she said, locking eyes with each of us in solemnity. "And the gift she carries." "I don't understand," Mia quietly murmured, her innocence a stark contrast to the weight of the moment. I felt as if I were holding my breath, caught in the undertow of pending revelations that could pull us under. "Ella, the truth is Mia is not just your daughter," Jessie's voice trembled slightly, imbuing the moment with an unshakable intensity. "There is something extraordinary about her, something that makes her different. Something that connects her to a legacy we've both been tangled in." "Jessie," I interrupted sharply, grappling for control as fragments of forgotten memories swirled through my mind like debris in the eye of a storm. "You're scaring them." "That's not my intention," she stated firmly. "But keeping this hidden is what put these storms in motion. Mia has abilities, intuitive gifts passed through the generations." "And no!" I shouted, panic rising within me as Sarah recoiled instinctively, wrapping an arm around Mia. "What are you talking about?" "You can't mean she can see things," Jessie revealed quietly, her voice low as if the very walls might betray her. "Things that others cannot. The universe speaks to her in ways you maybe know on some level, but haven't allowed yourself to confront. It's time to claim that part of her, to help her navigate her reality." Stunned silence enveloped us as I processed her words, the implications crashing over me like rampaging waves against jagged rocks. "You don't understand, Jessie," I said, struggling to gather my thoughts. "Mia is just a child." "Exactly," Jessie responded. "But that doesn't negate her essence. That's what makes her special. You've been shielding her, but that only conceals the storm raging inside her, as turbulent as the one outside." Mia's eyes widened, flitting between Jessie and me, absorbing every word like a sponge. "Mom, is that true? Can I really see things?" Her innocence hung in the air, laced with a mix of eagerness and fear, and for a fleeting moment, I glimpsed the horizon before the tempest. "Jessie," I murmured, gripping the counter to steady myself. "How can you be sure?" "Because of what I found," Jessie said, her eyes fierce with purpose. She held out the fabric patch, a deep blue square stitched with golden threads that shimmered with an otherworldly glow. "This belonged to your mother. It has been passed down, connected to the mystique surrounding your family. Mia shares this legacy. And it's time for her to embrace it." In that instant, I made the connection, my mother's stories, her vague warnings and gentle nudges, the fragments of conversation we had shared that felt so rich with unexpressed meaning. But I had locked that part away, meandering through a life that tried to erase the strangeness. "Mia," I said softly, meeting her wide eyes. "This patch, your grandmother believed in things beyond our comprehension. She believed in the unexplainable. I distanced us from it all to protect you. But it's a part of me." Mia pressed, her voice barely audible, yet filled with a longing I recognized painfully well. "It could be, if you choose to listen," Jessie interjected gently. "But it comes with its challenges, its storms." Sarah stepped forward, keeping her arm around Mia. "You mean we're linked to something special? Why didn't you tell us before?" "I was afraid," I admitted, my voice barely a whisper. "Afraid of what it would mean, who we would become. I didn't want to drag you both into a legacy fraught with uncertainty and complexity. I thought I could protect you from being different." "What if being different is powerful?" Sarah challenged softly, her gaze fierce but laden with empathy. "What if it means we could understand each other better?" The room buzzed with possibility, the storm raging outside subsiding for just a heartbeat as I contemplated their words. Jessie stepped closer, the patch nestled in her palm a talisman of hope and fear. But just as I thought a sense of clarity began to pierce through the darkness, another crashing rumble echoed from outside, causing us all to jump at the sudden shift in the atmosphere. A flash of lightning cracked through the sky, illuminating the room in an unnatural glow. In its wake, I heard a distant, haunting wail, a sound that felt eerily familiar, as though it were a warning for what lay ahead. I felt my stomach drop, knowing too well that secrets had a way of unearthing themselves when least expected. Jessie's expression hardened, urgency returning. "We need to decide now, Ella. Will you embrace this gift? Will you help Mia understand what's awakening within her?" But before I could respond or even process the impending ramifications of our choices, the lights flickered violently, plunging us into darkness for just a moment. My heart raced, and amidst the despair that threatened to engulf us, dread spiked sharply as I became acutely aware of a shadow looming nearby, framing itself just beyond the doorway. With wide eyes, we all turned, knowing only the tempest and the unraveling truths awaited on the other side. Time seemed to slow, breath caught in our throats, as the first steps toward the storm we had all feared and yearned for converged once more. The room remained cloaked in an eerie silence, the dimness wrapped around us like an oppressive shroud. My heart hammered in my chest, each beat a reminder of the urgency of Jessie's words and the shadows nestled in the corners of our lives. The weight of uncertainty pressed heavily on my shoulders, and even Mia's innocent questions now felt like echoes from a distant world, reverberating softly against the walls of our reality. "Mia, honey, let us," I began, but the words caught in my throat. The atmosphere shifted, a palpable tension weaving through our thoughts. The shadows danced beyond the doorway, flickering in time with the dim lights, as if something or someone was urging to break through. "Mom!" Sarah exclaimed, her voice layered with adrenaline and fear. "Did you hear that?" "I did," I whispered, a lump forming as I steeled my voice, but just then, a loud knock resonated through the house, splintering the charged air and sending a shockwave through my family. I instantly sensed the fear tightening in my daughter's grips, their wide eyes turning toward the sound as if it were a doorway to an unfathomable world. "Who's there?" Jessie called out, her tone steady but laced with rising alarm. "Sorry." A voice came from the other side, muffled and unfamiliar, yet yielding a painful pang of nostalgia, reminiscent of a distant dream gone awry. We just need to talk." "About what?" I felt my body tense, uncertainty tightening every muscle as I exchanged a glance with Jessie. Her expression mirrored mine, both unsure and desperately willing to know. The voice sighed heavily. "Please, it's important. It involves Mia." My gaze snapped to Jessie. "What does that mean?" I asked, a foreboding chill creeping down my spine. I wrestled with the anxiety brewing within me, a chaotic cyclone of worry and helplessness. "I don't know," Jessie admitted quietly, but I could see that her usually calm exterior began to splinter. "But if it's about Mia, step away from the door, girls," I instructed, but Sarah and Mia remained rooted to the spot, confusion washing over them. I sensed the dread shimmering between us, a fragile thread of connection that bound us all together, caught in the eye of the storm. "Mom, I don't want to hide," Mia stated boldly, her voice cutting through the tension like a shard of glass. "If I can see things, I want to understand. I want to know who I am. A wave of emotions washed over me: fear, pride, and the flickering flame of a long-buried hope. But as I was about to speak, the voice beyond the door grew sharper, filled with urgency. You have to know everything. It's not just Mia who's in danger. Ella, we need to protect all of you. From what? I cried, panic rising sharply within. My protective instincts screamed for clarity, yet the more tightly I grasped at the remnants of clarity, the more they slipped away. The door creaked, and before I could react, a shadowy figure pushed through, silhouetted against the flickering light. I gasped as the realization struck me: this stranger was not a stranger at all, but a reflection from a past I had tried to bury. Jacob? I breathed, disbelief flooding my senses as I fought against the memories staggering into view: his laughter, his warmth, the day he vanished from my life, leaving a chasm of unhealed pain behind. I'm so sorry, Ella, he murmured, eyes wide and pleading as he swept his gaze across my daughters. I never wanted to come back, not like this. Why are you here? I demanded, an edge trembling in my voice. Jesse squeezed my arm, grounding me as the full impact of his presence sunk in, no longer just a specter of my past but a tempest clothed in familiar sorrow. Because it's time for the truth, he replied, a tremor in his voice as he stepped closer, each movement echoing the fragmented pieces of our shared history. And for Mia to embrace her gift, we need to stand against what's coming. In that moment, the room felt charged with an electric energy, the storm outside fading into a mere whisper against the storm now brewing within. Mia's small hand wandered to touch my arm. Her questioning gaze reflected the same confusion and fear that tangled within my heart. Mom, who is he? She asked, her voice a gentle balm against the tide of my racing thoughts. Before I could answer, another chill washed over me as a deafening crash of thunder erupted outside, blurring the lines between the worlds I thought I had delineated so carefully. I felt exposed, laid bare in this shattering moment of revelation. Ella, listen to me, Jacob pressed, his tone urgent yet fragile. You've been sheltered for too long. This gift, this legacy, it's connected to everything, to the storms in our lives, and more importantly, to the dangers that have been awakening. What dangers? I asked, desperation mingling with curiosity. Those who would misuse what Mia has within her, he replied, his voice lowered to shrouded urgency. And what you both inherited: a power that could either heal us or bring devastation. You've kept it hidden too long, and now he hesitated, his eyes darting toward Jesse. Now it has caught up with us. My heart raced as warmth turned to ice. You don't know what you're asking. This isn't just about Mia or you. I know, Jacob said, voice trembling. But you must trust me. I wouldn't have come if it weren't dire. There are forces at play, and you, Ella, you have a choice to make. Will you let her embrace what is her birthright? The charged air crackled with tension, and as silence enveloped us once more, I felt the weight of generations resting on my shoulders, a legacy intertwined with love and heartbreak. These mystical gifts had always been supposed to connect us, yet they now pulled us toward a path fraught with peril. But before I could stitch together a coherent thought, the sensation of dread I had carried all evening morphed into something heavier, an impending storm against my very core. Just as I was about to respond, the lights dimmed briefly one last time, revealing Mia, her eyes shimmering with an unusual light. It was as if the storm within was peeking through, awakening strands of magic that long slept. My heart clenched at the sight, a mixture of fear and hope twisted violently within me. Your answer matters, Ella, Jacob urged, drawing my gaze back to him where his expression was a tempest of longing and regret. We're running out of time. And in that charged moment, a heartbeat away from revelation, everything around us shifted. The world beyond our home seemed to fade, and the whispers of the past echoed louder, pulling me in all directions. I had to decide, but as I opened my mouth, fully prepared to make a choice, the door behind Jacob swung violently open, and a figure stepped into the threshold, a silhouette that was both shield and sword amidst the looming storm. And beneath the shroud of certainty and confusion, I braced myself for whatever lay ahead. Ella, the voice called with chilling familiarity, we have much to discuss. And in that instance, I realized the storm was no longer just outside, it had surged into our lives, ready to reshape everything we thought we knew. The air was thick with tension, a smothering weight that hung in the room like an ominous cloud. As I stared at the figure swathed in shadows, my heart raced in a rhythm aligned with the storm outside. I felt as if I were teetering on the edge of a precipice, staring down into the unknown chasm that threatened to engulf us. The echoes of past secrets hovered in the periphery, reflecting back at me from the eyes of my daughters, confusion painted onto their innocent faces, caught in the wild swirl of revelations unfolding like a bitter bloom. "Lily," the intruder repeated, crafting a shudder in the air, her voice sending trepidation trickling down my spine. "It's time to face the truth." I blinked, hoping I was misunderstanding her intentions. Part of me wanted to lock the world outside our door, to shield Mia and Sarah from whatever darkness clouded our family history. The emergence of my mother had stirred a tempest of feelings, but the arrival of her twin sister even after all these years was a deeper cut, a painful reminder of the fracture that had cleaved my family apart. "Why now?" I managed to choke out, the bitter taste of my voice hanging heavy in the air. "Why after all this time?" "Because the storms of our past have caught up with us." Lily's gaze met mine, and in that moment, I noticed the flicker of urgent concern in her expression. "They threaten everything, including Mia. You all have gifts that are powerful." She hesitated, her breath catching at the realization of the weight those words carried. "And they must be protected." Not unlike a pot boiling over, my frustration erupted, heat rushing through me at the uninvited memories rising like specters. "What do you know about being a parent?" I snapped, each syllable filled with heated emotion. "You walked away. You abandoned us." "No, Lily, you need to listen." "Why should I trust you?" I interrupted angrily. But as quickly as the emotional outburst surged, I felt its effects cool to icy fear. The shadows danced eerily across her face as my mind whirled, tangled in the threads of the past. "What do you mean by protect?" "Mia is more special than you know," she confessed, her tone steady but laced with a quivering vulnerability. "What she has within her, it connects to our family tree. Our ancestry holds secrets, glimpses into a world different from the one we've known." She paused, gauging my reaction, and through clenched teeth, I felt the remnants of childhood hurt rear up like a tempest I had tried so desperately to silence. "Enough of this!" I shouted, desperately shielding my daughters from the very storm that had ravaged me for years. "You return after all of this time, and you expect us to buy into your fairy tale?" "Ella!" Jacob intervened softly, his voice dipping into the chasm to soothe the agitation brewing inside me. "You must hear her out. This is bigger than you realize." "Bigger than I realize?" I echoed, sarcasm dripping like poison, but inwardly, doubt crept in. What lay beneath was a haunting familiarity I had yet to confront. "Mia needs to know who she is," Lily pressed, eyes wide, that familial anguish suddenly visible. "She must connect to her roots if she is to learn how to wield her gifts, to step into her power and protect herself against those who threaten her." Mia stepped closer to me, tiny hands trembling, her jade eyes sparkling both with fear and something else, curiosity. "Mama, am I special?" I felt like an anchor being dragged under, wrestling with the tempest coursing through my heart. I never wanted her to feel different. It was an inheritance laden with burdens I had carried alone. "You're special just as you are, sweet pea," I said, attempting to obfuscate my own confusion. "That doesn't change." But her voice was small, but within its tremor, my heart broke. "What if I can be more, Mama? What if there's more inside me?" One simple question that shattered everything I believed to be true. The storm within intensified, churning as I battled, not only her questions but my deepest fears. "And what if embracing it only invites more chaos?" I whispered into the collective silence, terror lacing my words. "Because it's time to break the cycle," Jacob shouted suddenly, his urgency piercing through our cloud of unrest. "If you hold on to these fears, you restrict Mia from experiencing the wonder that could redefine her environment. But more than that, we can shield her together from whatever is coming if we stand united. In that moment, my heart swelled and shattered simultaneously, thoughts colliding like the chaotic elements outside. I looked to Jessie, who stood resolute, pushing the storm of uncertainty aside. Things don't have to be a burden if we embrace our legacy, Ella, she added, sending a reassuring glance toward Mia. The bond we had forged amidst our struggles sang like a powerful anthem, resolute against the howling winds. My gift is my burden, but it's intertwined with love, Mia stated then, with an unwavering clarity that swept through the room like healing rain, bold yet sincere. I couldn't tear my gaze away from her compact figure, my heart swelling with pride as understanding crept through my veins. Maybe, just maybe, I had been wrong to keep her sheltered from the very truth that could guide her. An awakening unfolded before me, and I felt the weight of secrets burdening my shoulders lift, if only temporarily. We're stronger together, I said, letting my fear slip away to the winds as acceptance washed over me, rough around the edges, but alive with purpose. Even through the storms, and as the word together hung in the air, I felt something start to shift. The very essence of our hearts converging, flickering into something profound. I turned back to Lily, Jacob, and the gathering shadows of my family history, feeling a shared resolve blossoming against the raging storm. I choose to embrace it, I spoke finally, each word steadying me, demanding understanding amidst the chaos that needed to be faced. I choose to embrace Mia's gift, and our ties, no matter how painful. A distant rumble echoed, and in that moment, as I scanned the room, it became clear this was not just the end of burying secrets, nor was it a mere acceptance of what makes us different. It was a promise, one that carried a weight heavy yet freeing, with a final breath that tasted of fresh rain mingling with thunder. I found myself smiling through the chaos. Let us construct the bridge we need to walk across. And just like that, surrounded by familial arms that nestled us in warmth, my source of strength, I knew, beneath the heavier torrents and shadows that loomed just beyond our threshold, that together, bound by love, we would transform the storm into an opportunity for renewal. As we stood united, my breath caught in my throat as I whispered, no matter what comes next, we'll face it together. And just as the last echoes of my words faded, lightning struck again in a powerful explosion, illuminating the room and forging the resolute bond that ultimately lights our way, a family stitched together in love, remade through truth and acceptance. The tears that brimmed our eyes were not tears of sorrow, they were born of hope, belief, and empowerment, one final strand tying us to the present with open hearts ready to embrace whatever lay ahead.